3 John, Diotrephes, who loves to put himself first, does not acknowledge our authority. 3 John, with only one chapter, is another short letter written by the Apostle John to a man named Gaius. It focuses on hospitality, truth, support for fellow believers, and a rebuke to a man named Diotrophys. The chapter begins with a greeting from John to Gaius. He commends Gaius for his faithfulness and his hospitality towards the brothers that John had sent to him. John then contrasts Gaius' positive example with the bad behavior of Diotrophys. Diotrophys was a person who loved to have preeminence, which means to have the first place. Diotrophys also rejected the authority of the apostles. The chapter concludes with a commendation of Demetrius and a reminder of John's desire to visit the believers in person. Exegesis by sections and verses, verses 1 to 4. Commendation to Gaius. The chapter starts with a greeting from John, referring to himself as the elder. He addresses Gaius, commending his faithfulness for walking in the truth. John expresses his joy in hearing about Gaius' commitment to the truth and his practice of showing hospitality to the men that John had sent. John praises Gaius for his support of these workers. He affirmed that they went out proclaiming the gospel. They did this without taking support from the Gentiles. Verses 5 to 8. John praises Gaius for his hospitality once again. John mentions that Gaius is showing love and support to fellow believers who are strangers to him. He highlights the importance of supporting those who are engaged in the work of spreading the gospel. John encourages Gaius to continue supporting these workers so that they may be fellow laborers for the truth. Verses 9 to 10. John's warning about Diotrophys. John addresses the negative example of a man named Diotrophys, who loved to have preeminence among the believers, and rejected the authority of the apostles. He states his plan to confront Diotrophys personally, addressing his divisive and ungodly behavior. John advises them not to receive or welcome such deceivers into their homes, for doing so would share in their sins. He affirms that those who go beyond the teachings of Christ do not have God. John urges them to remain faithful to what they have heard from the beginning, so that they may receive a full reward. Verses 11 to 12. Commendation to Demetrius. John encourages Gaius to follow what is good, imitating those who do good, rather than imitating the negative example of Diotrophys. He affirms that the one who does good is of God, while the one who does evil has not seen God. John concludes by commending Demetrius, vouching for his good character, and urging Gaius to welcome him when he arrives. Verses 13 to 14. John desired to visit them in person. He expresses the hope that they would have face-to-face fellowship. He closes this letter with greetings from friends. Overall summary: 3 John focuses on the themes of hospitality, truth, and support for fellow believers. The chapter commends Gaius for his faithfulness, hospitality, and the support of men that John had sent. It contrasts Gaius' positive example with the negative example of Diotrophys, who also rejected the authority of the apostles. John encouraged Gaius to continue his support of those engaged in the work of spreading the gospel. He affirms the importance of imitating those who do good, and warns against divisive behavior. John closes with a commendation of Demetrius and a reminder of his desire to visit them in person. The overall message of 3 John is a call to show hospitality, support, and love to fellow believers, while rejecting divisive and ungodly behavior.